Here's an incredible statistic that I saw recently when it comes to the Internet computer. It's not that it had around a 4% recovery in the past 24 hours. It actually goes beyond that because according to the Internet computer today, they referenced a statistic from ChainSpect which indicated how in terms of most active blockchains on Earth allegedly by total lifetime transactions, the Internet computer was allegedly ranked #1 in the world, which basically overtook Solana, Hedera, Stellar, and as well as many others, supposedly, which is kind of surprising to me, and I actually found that to be pretty incredible. Now, I'll talk about that in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and this is just my personal opinion. I am not telling anyone to do anything. But people like to say, oh, did the Internet computer today make up these numbers? Because keep in mind, the Internet computer today is different from the actual Dfinity, right? But they do post a lot of updates. But no, sir, they did not make up the figures because they literally referenced something by the name of ChainSpect. So it wasn't like they just made these numbers out of thin air. That's actually not the case. They actually referenced something that actually tracks stuff like this. So we have to consider that. I know the other day when I made a video regarding the Internet computer today and I referenced their post in a video, someone was like, oh, that's not the actual Dfinity. But yeah, it's a little bit different, right? But at the same time, they do reference their posts. So it's not like they're just making things up, allegedly. But I'm just saying, keep in mind, we have to consider this. How is the Internet computer even ranked #1? Some people may be asking that. They're like, why is it overtaking Solana, Hedera, and even Stellar? Like, how is that even possible? Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe a lot of people use it. I think that might be an explanation because apparently there's a lot of activity. I mean, I don't think it's rocket science, right? I know some people like to say, oh, this is really bad and all this, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, if those are the statistics, then it is what it is. I get it. The Internet computer, it's not a top 10 project, it's not top 5, not top 20, not top 30 even. So seeing something like this is a little bit unbelievable. I get it. It seems like that. But we have to consider the numbers are the numbers. I mean, I can't control it. So if I take a look at something like that, I do have to commend the Internet computer because it's a pretty impressive achievement. For a project that's currently ranked 48th in the world in terms of market cap within this space, this is a pretty impressive achievement. So apparently, their total transactions in terms of the Internet computer so far is around 293 billion. Wow. That technically means that when it comes to that figure, at least when it comes to this chart more specifically, it's more than Solana and Hedera combined, as well as, actually, if we take a look at it, if we combine Solana, Hedera, Stellar, it's not even that of the Internet computer, which is a little bit legendary. Like how? Some people may be wondering. And again, it is pretty surprising, but I guess it's maybe due to the fundamentals and the activity that's going on when it comes to the Internet computer. So something not being as popular, it doesn't mean that it's automatically bad. That's actually not the case. The Internet computer not being as popular doesn't dictate its fundamentals. The fundamentals are the fundamentals. The popularity is a different case. If we take a look at it logically speaking, Pepe historically, even though it's a meme, it's more popular than this, right? But if we take a look at the fundamentals, it's just different. One's a meme, one's not. This is not a meme. That's the thing. So again, I get it. Popularity, it's not the best when it comes to this, but sometimes enterprises, developers, they could care less about that. They usually care about the fundamentals. And when I take a look at this right here, the fact that the Internet computer can even sustain that many transactions to begin with showcases that the fundamentals have to be there somewhat, right? Because we see a lot of other projects out there, they have a bunch of network outages, it's always down, they can't sustain a lot of transactions and all this. But when it comes to this, we've seen it historically. We've seen the track record that it has. So it's pretty difficult to argue that, oh, this is unreliable, it can't handle it, because the statistics are showcasing a story that is reminiscent of something that is reliable and something that could actually handle a lot of transactions, which showcases, again, great reliability, which is one of the main factors that a lot of developers and enterprises do care about. Let's take this into consideration. A lot of developers out there that are focused on AI, they want something that's reliable. And don't these statistics in regard to the internet computer kind of somewhat showcase its reliability? I think so. And not to mention, this is not even considering the other strides that the internet computer is making. Or should I say Dfinity? Because OEC version 2, that's pretty massive in terms of an achievement. Caffeine AI version 3, that's also really massive. Not to mention, Caffeine AI is now on the Amazon Web Services Marketplace. So we gotta let that sink in. I even made a more detailed video regarding that in one of my previous videos, but I'm just saying, not to mention, we're still looking forward to the full-on launch, so to speak, when it comes to Cloud Engine. So we've already seen the demo, but we haven't seen the full-on quote-unquote launch yet. But keep in mind, through Cloud Engines, Dfinity is focused on a market that is currently worth around $1 trillion, which of course is the cloud market. That's how much it's allegedly worth as of right now. I get it. It's easy to overlook the accomplishments, the fundamentals, and the things that Dfinity is doing, especially with the internet computer being around $2.20. Literally just being so close to its all-time low, and its all-time low being $1.98. So we're not too far off that. But the strides they're doing behind the scenes, it's pretty impressive. I think fundamentally, the internet computer is probably at an all-time high in terms of the use case and all this. But in terms of the price charts, it's literally close to its all-time low. So it's kind of the complete opposite, right? The fundamentals are arguably the best it's ever been before. But in terms of the price charts, it's very close to what it's been, at least historically, in terms of the lowest it's ever been, you know? So something is nearing the historical bottom, or basically at that range. But in terms of the fundamentals, it's way better than 2024 and even 2025, at least in my opinion. It's kind of surprising for me to see something like this, but the reason why I think it's an incredible statistic nonetheless is because people oftentimes don't expect the internet computer to even be ranked that high in regard to that respect, right? In regard to the alleged most active blockchains on Earth by total lifetime transactions. If I ask people about this statistic, just like, randomly, they're not going to think about the internet computer as even being top 30 even. Or let alone, some people might not even know what this is. People may resort to saying, oh, Solana or like Ethereum or something like that, but they won't necessarily think about the internet computer. That's usually not the case. If I just ask people, hey, what projects do you think about when you think about this space? They think about like, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all this, Solana. They're not thinking about this. And let alone, even the idea of something like the internet computer being ranked first place in regard to the most active blockchains on Earth by total lifetime transactions, according to a statistic showcased by ChainSpec, that's not even going to come close to their radar. They're not going to think about that at all. Even a lot of people who are in the know when it comes to this space, a lot of people who've been in this space for years, they won't even think about the internet computer as being ranked that high. So we have to consider just the fundamentals that it has in order to be able to accomplish something like that. And I think it kind of showcases the underrated nature of the internet computer, because despite the lack of popularity, it's able to do that. I get it. Back in November of last year, we were at around $9. Now we're over 4 times lower than that. But I don't mind because, I like a discount when I go to Costco. That's the thing. And I like discounts in general. But that's just kind of my mindset. However, when I take a look at the internet computer, this statistic was really impressive, and I think kind of showcases just what Dfinity is actually doing behind the scenes. It's a big thumbs up in my opinion, and that's just my reaction as of right now. I was thinking to myself, wow, that was an incredible statistic. So I felt like talking about it. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very incredible day.